So by show of hands, how many people here have ever been to the beach? Good, I assume to be most of you. Now, we can all agree that this picture is beautiful, but it doesn't truly capture the essence of what it's like to be near the water. We can't hear the waves gently lap against the shore, feel the sun on our faces, or dip our toes in the sand. We can appreciate its beauty through an image, but we cannot experience it. Now I'll admit, when I first started gathering information for this talk, I tried to come up with a clean-cut definition for what it's like to be near the water. It sounds simple, but it's really not. Because we all experience water in different ways, we all have a different attitudes towards it. To some, it inspires, creates a feeling of tranquility or awe. But no matter how you feel, we can all agree that we are drawn to it. We don't often ask the question, why? Why are we drawn to the water? Or instead, why does it make us happy? Well, the human adult body is composed of 60% water, so it should come at no surprise that we enjoy being in, on, or under it. But science shows that there's more to it than just simple enjoyment, that being near the water can boost health, happiness, and creativity. But other than being evident in our everyday lives, it is written into our history. Since the beginning of time, explorers have always let Mother Nature's blue guide them. Whether it was a journey across oceans or down rivers, we have always traveled in search of water. But nowadays, we travel towards the water by booking a plane ticket to a tropical island getaway. And near the water, we achieve a sense of total disconnect that we fail to find elsewhere. And in this day and age of overcommunication and oversharing through social media, that is truly rare. After all, one of my favorite things is no one can text you while you're underwater. And I know all swimmers can relate. 6 days a week, I jump into a freezing cold pool to do what I love most and disconnect from the rest of the world. Swimming serves as my vacation from the incessant stress of life and homework. But you don't have to be a competitive swimmer to relate to the love of the water. For example, swimming is used as therapy for many special needs children, one of them being my 18-year-old brother, Alex. Once a week, Alex swims at a program at our local YMCA called Saturdays in Motion. The wonderful program pairs up children with autism with a volunteer for an hour in the pool of laughter and fun. And you should see the smile that lights up these kids' faces. It's truly priceless. This feeling of joy that we experience in the proximity of water has been labeled our blue mind by researcher Wallace J. Nichols. Nichols has compiled a compelling argument for water in his novel Blue Mind. The main message that Nichols is trying to convey is that not only do we react positively to the water, that we actually benefit from it. Groundbreaking mapping of the brain and advances in neurotechnology have helped scientists uncover our brain on water. The psychological effects of water can be measured through machines such as EEGs and fMRIs. However, even these advances in technology have some limits. Most of the experiments done with how people react to the water are confined to sterile labs with people looking at images of the water. And as we said before, an image of the water cannot truly capture its essence. Now, but these advances in technology have helped scientists uncover the neurobiology of happiness. And if we understand how our brain reacts when it is happy, we are one step closer to understanding how it reacts when it is near the water. As we know it, emotions, and specifically happiness, are not clear-cut. An emotional reaction is composed of two parts. The first being your brain changing what is happening in the body. For example, if you're nervous, you might start to sweat or might start talking really fast. The second part of an emotional reaction is your body releasing chemicals in different areas of the brain. The chemicals associated with happiness are serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins, and dopamine. So when released, these chemicals contribute to a feeling of tranquility and joy and can help with bonding towards others. Seems great. Well, the next connection that Nichols and his colleagues make are if these chemicals have short-term positive effects, what happens if they're released repeatedly? What happens if our joy around water isn't a twice-a-year phenomenon, but instead a twice-a-week one? Could water have positive effects both psychologically and physically? The answer is yes. If you use water as your positive outlet in life, you can scientifically increase your sensitivity to happiness. Sounds complicated, but all I mean by this is it'll be easier to achieve happiness, and when you're happier for longer periods of time. In order for this to happen, an experience needs to fit a set of criteria. This experience needs to be intense enough, produce enough of these happiness chemicals, and occur frequently enough. Well, we know the experience of being near water is certainly intense enough and produces enough of these chemicals. We just need to be around it more often. Think of it like exercise. When you first start lifting weights, it can be really difficult, but over time, the weight that you struggle to pick up can be easy to handle. And similarly, our brain is a muscle. And they say if you do something enough times, you become an expert at it. So if being near the water triggers a positive psychological response repeatedly, we can become experts in happiness. By simply spending more time by, in, or on the water, we can improve our outlook on life and even our lifestyle. We can train our brains to be happier by spending more time by the water. Well, now we know how our brain reacts when it's near the water and all the positive effects it can have. A new question arises. Why do we react in such a way? Well, it all stems around how we have developed. Since the beginning of time, explorers have always settled near the water, as it provided a sense of security that we failed to achieve elsewhere. Marine-based predators rarely came onto the land, and land-based predators never came from the water. In the winter, when a food supply of plants and animals ran desolate, we could turn to fishing to survive. And as we develop evolutionary preferences as well. John Medina points out that we are being shaped by our individual experiences, social and cultural interactions, and physical environment. So as the early humans settled near the water, they were comforted in the protection it provided. And when these people reproduced, some of the rewiring in their brain that told them to love the water was replicated as well. Nowadays, we no longer need to live by the water to survive, but the same neurological programming remains. And this is why we are so drawn to the water. For the past 1,000 years, we have engaged with nature constantly. But in the past 200 years, we have shifted from living with nature to living in a concrete jungle. Now, don't get me wrong, advances in technology are great, and I'm all for technology. I mean, it's provided me with the information to do this presentation. But they're not the sights we're programmed to see. And this is yet another reason why our overstimulated brain finds comfort in being by the water. Evolution has wired our brain in such a way, and our human-produced urban environment is starving the brain of the stimulation it craves. Now, obviously, I said before I'm a swimmer, and research shows that people spend 4 hours a day online, and anyone who knows me would say I am no exception, especially my mother. Now, obviously, I cannot be on my phone while I'm underwater, and this is probably why swim practice will forever be the most productive 2 hours of my life. And not because I'm swimming 5,000 yards, most of which at a high intensity, but instead because I don't have my nose in my phone. Often I get asked why I swim and why I'm so drawn to the water. And it's a feeling not of winning or a feeling of staying in shape, but instead a feeling of clarity I receive when I jump out of the pool after a 2-hour practice. And I will admit, swimming can seem kind of boring as you're staring at a black line for 2 hours. But I promise, my mind is always occupied. I like to think about things I want to accomplish in life, things I want to do when I get home, and things I want to eat, most importantly. However, I find as I turn my head away from my phone and towards the water, I open my mind up to be more productive. And this is why I love the water. But as I said before, everyone loves the water for different reasons. Take my 18-year-old brother, Alex, for example. He doesn't get into the water to competitively practice and reflect upon his life. He gets in the water with a volunteer for an hour of laughter and fun. And you should see the smile that lights up his face. An hour of catch outside of the pool, it's like okay. An hour of catch inside of the pool, the stuff is like legendary. But he doesn't know that the water is supposed to make him happy. For him, it just does. Now, sadly, I can't go ask him why he loves the water so much and bond with him in that retrospect. But if I look at it with a glass half full perspective, the love of the water is something both of our brains share. Just because his mind and mine are different, the same neurological programming remains. And for that, water is truly universal. I know some of my best memories growing up were made by the water, and I hope this talk inspires you to go out and make some memories of your own and reap the benefits of water. Thank you.